Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
Our guest now is Angelique Fawcett. She is the CEO of Archangel Films in LA, but more importantly, she is the founder of Elderly Lives Matter USA, and she splits her time between being a filmmaker, producer, director, and being a nationwide elder rights activist. She deals with an extraordinary problem that many Americans may be unaware of, but there are approximately 1.3 million adult conservatorships and guardianships in the United States, and an estimated $50 billion in assets under conservatorship and guardianship arrangements mandated by the courts. 85% of these Americans are over 65 years old, and a great many of them are in abusive or restrictive conservatorships or guardianships in which they die without their human, civil, or constitutional rights being observed. This is a horrific problem, and we are proud to have Angelique with us today to lay this out. Now, many Americans familiar with the situation surrounding Britney Spears. I remember reading extensively about the conservatorship of Mickey Rooney, a classic and famous American actor, Casey Kasem, who was once a top 40 DJ, the late Glenn Campbell. But this problem is more widespread than people know. Angelique, lay it out for us, if you will.
Okay. Thank you so much, Roger. And it's an honor to be on your show. Thank you for caring about this topic and sharing it with your audience. Yes, I am a nationwide elder rights activist. And the very sad thing about this particular issue in America is that it's a very hidden secret. And most people don't find out about it until it actually happens to them or it happens to someone that they care about. Usually, amongst our activist group, we have a very large movement across the nation, and we're not underground. We are speaking publicly and handling our business the best that we can. But usually people come to us when this happens, or if we tell them about it, they don't believe it happens, like I said, until it happens to them. So I got into this movement not because I wanted to, and I don't believe that any of the activists across the nation become an activist because they want to. It's because you see an injustice that you can't unsee. So my second mom, Nichelle Nichols, who played Lieutenant Uhura on original Star Trek, she was like a second mother to me. She suffered in an egregiously, physically, publicly abusive conservatorship. She had told me many years prior, please make sure that, no one ever puts me in a rest home again, because that's what happened to her. And she said, I don't care if it's my son. I don't care if it's anyone else. Please have my back. So being a woman of my word, I had her back. In 2018, she was put into conservatorship. And that's when I began my journey with her and standing up for human civil rights and constitutional rights in court. And in fact, Carrie Kasem is actually the one that came to assist me. She's a good friend of mine, but an incredible fellow activist. She went to court. I gained visitation rights. I was acknowledged by the court. But subsequently, the judge denied all the evidence of physical abuse, financial abuse, refused to see anything, and Michelle was sent to her death. And basically, she passed away on July 30th, 2022. And because of what I saw her go through and the pain it is when you lose a second mom or your own mom, obviously your blood is even more. It's so painful, you can't unsee it. And then throughout my journey, I met so many other people who have gone through this. You mentioned Mickey Rooney. Kelly Rooney is on the board of KSM Cares along with all of us. So is Travis and Trudy Campbell. We're on the board of KSM Cares. I created Elderly Lives Matter USA to bring all of these groups together. So I have people in various areas that are experiencing this.
Folks, you can find out more by going to elderlylivesmatterusa.org. What Angelique tells us today is so incredibly compelling. I've studied everything you sent me. The real problem seems to be here that probate judges are ignoring and not acknowledging pertinent evidence of abuse towards these senior citizens, and this is happening across the country.
Yes, across the country. I literally work with people across the country every day. Within, a certain group of people I have Mary Bush, whose mom was Genevieve Bush. Her mother was penetrated. I'll say that as best so I can say. She was penetrated by her own son. This is on a court document while she was in a conservatorship. She ended up passing away. I have Stuart Hansey and Roger Hilligus from Nevada. Roger Hilligus' mother passed away. She was in an abusive guardianship in in Nevada, and they got her out of it, and then they were accused of kidnapping his own mom. I have Sue Reeves and Skylar Davis, who are in New Jersey. Skylar Davis is one of the youngest, I'd say, advocates in the nation, standing up for his right to see his father. There's people across the country. So imagine this. If you are an elderly person or you are approaching that age, and I wanted people to know how you can fall into it, right? So say you're a little bit sick. You go to the hospital because you feel really just a little bit sick enough to go to the hospital. And they give you what's called a mini-mental. A mini-mental is where they come in and they ask you a lot of regular seeming questions. What's your name? What's the date? Who's the president of the United States? What country do you live in? How is it at home? Do you live alone? Do you have kids? Are you married? Questions that really don't pertain to your health, but they mix them in. That's called a mini-mental. Next thing you know, you have been in the presence of a doctor that may not be so ethical. Next thing you know, your information is given to that social worker. The social worker then gives it to a conservator or guardian, depending upon your state. And then next thing you know, it could be 2 weeks, it could be a month from that time, you have a conservator or guardian at your front door saying that you must come with us. The court has ordered you to be in a conservatorship or guardianship. It's totally legal. It's illegal in our constitutional and human and civil rights mind. It's illegal. But according to the probate court, it's a legal thing to do. If you don't go with that conservator or guardian, then you are taken to jail. Now, if you're taken to jail, either way you do it, your whole life now belongs to someone else. So the conservator or guardian has access to all of your money now, all of your investments, your home, your cars, everything. They can take everything you have. The worst thing is they take your person. They end up taking your life. But they have now control over you. Your family can't find you. And then when they do find you, they have no control. Suddenly you're in a rest home or a hospital, and that's it. And then your whole life is stuck in probate court. And the judges and attorneys work against you. In many cases, people are not allowed to go to court and stand up for any prior arrangements they made before they got into a conservatorship or guardian. Their wills and trusts mean nothing in probate court. And so that's why when you mention, that there's billions of assets under conservatorships and guardianships, there really are. So everything you worked hard for, you're working hard right now. I'm working, people work. everything that you worked hard for is now someone else's. It doesn't attribute to you getting old and you want to live your life a certain way, or you even want to give it to your kids. It's now someone else's. And that's a huge problem for us in America. And I do have some people, most people die in conservatorship, but there's a few people who are still around and they're trying to fight for their rights as well. And we're all trying to help them.
Again, folks, you can learn more by going to elderlylivesmatterusa.org, a nonprofit organization that is fighting for legal reform. It is shocking to me that probate judges are actually denying our senior citizens their right to testify in court upon their own behalf, where they can state their own end-of-life desires, their prior attempts to plan their future in the manner of wills, trusts, even videos that they have left, all ignored or denied by the court across the country. Elderly are not allowed to report the psychological, physical, or financial abuses that are being inflicted upon them by the conservatives, their guardians, their caretakers. This can happen to your own family members, folks. That's why I wanted to have Angelique with us today. Angelique has actually gotten a change in California state law in this area. We're going to talk about that when we come back, so don't touch that dial. You're listening to The Roger Stone Show. It is our privilege to have Angelique Fawcett of Elderly Lives Matter USA with us. We'll be right back.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries. And with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
And we're back, folks. Our guest, Angelique Fawcett. She's not only the CEO of Archangel Films in L.A., but more importantly for today's discussion, she's the founder of Elderly Lives Matter USA, where she is fighting for the rights of our elder Americans who are being abused in the current system of abusive conservatorship and guardianship cases. It is shocking how little the American people know about this, but Angelique, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you boil this all down, it seems to be all about the money, isn't it?
Yes, it is all about the money. And mostly, most of us, we just want a good life. We just want to live our life. We want to do what we do, enjoy what we do, and live our life. And the money that we create throughout our life, we want to use that for our retirement or for whatever you want to do at the end of your life. If you don't want to retire, like Nichelle Nichols never wanted to retire, but the world was told she was, right? But it's all about the money. And what ends up happening is the worst thing is that usually people end up dying in these conservatorships and guardianships because they don't care about the person. They just care about liquidating that individual, the elderly individual's asset.
Seems to be a pattern here where the elderly fall into a situation in which they are isolated, they're over-medicated, their assets are then stolen, there's nothing they can do to retaliate. Ultimately, they pass and they're cremated. It's horrific. Yes,
that's the elder abuse formula. Isolate, over-medicate, steal the estate, retaliate, and cremate. And I'll be really quick with that. Isolation is pretty simple. Unfortunately, they get the person into a conservatorship or guardianship, and they isolate them from anyone, family, friends, whomever. But usually that elderly person is by themselves in their home with a very abusive caretaker. It's already abuse if the person is isolated, right? Then over-medicating them, basically giving them medication that they don't need. You know, older people tend to have medication, but giving them medication they don't need to make them spacey or not aware, you know, drugged up. Then they steal the estate. They start working on the estate. They start liquidating the property. There's usually land across the country, the people I speak to. There's always seems to be land that's involved. People want to get the land or the home. Then they retaliate against the elderly person if they put up any fight, meaning they physically beat them up, abuse them, and they can do whatever they want to behind closed doors, right? No one knows because they're isolated, and there's family out there fighting for them. So they retaliate against those family members who are fighting against what's going on with their mother and father. So they kind of, it's like a chasm, you know, they say, oh, well, you know, this person, this child is wrong for standing up for their mother and father. They're evil. And then they basically defame, slander, and libel the person who is fighting so they will then stop fighting for their mother and father and focus on themselves. And most of these people, I know the movement that I'm in, they stand up for their mother and father. They don't care about what you're saying to them. Yes, it hurts them, it harms them, but they stand up for their mother and father to the death. I've seen it. And then, unfortunately, the saddest part, the people really need to worry about. You need to really think about this. Most of these people get cremated immediately after they pass away. They're not usually buried. They're usually cremated to hide the evidence of any physical abuse. And that's really scary. So basically, someone comes into that person's home, into their life, and they steal everything, and then they get rid of the evidence, and they're never in trouble for it. There are solutions to all of this, though.
Well, you've passed a bill into law with the support of many of your activist colleagues in California. Tell us about that.
Yes, that bill is called the Kasem-Nichols-Rooney Law, SB 1106. Senator Susan Rubio helped us with that. Carrie Kasem met Senator Susan Rubio, and it was signed into the law. The governor signed it into law last month, and it is a elder visitation law, so that people are able to more easily visit the elderly in the state of California. So now, if the judges will actually follow the law that they're supposed to be implementing, then people are able to see their elderly. And many people usually don't know that they can't see their elderly when they're put into a conservatorship or guardianship. They just think, that's my mom, of course I can see her. That's my dad, of course I can see him. But no, this visitation law is put in place so that you will be protected, and the elderly person will especially be protected so they can see their kids and family members. And I just like to mention, too, there are some people, you know, there's Elderly Lives Matter USA, but there's also Kasem Cares. Kasem Cares is mentioned. I helped us. There's also Judicialpedia that was created by Janice Grenadier. There's Court Victim by Bob Gettinger. These are websites that people can go to see that there's other instances of this abuse, and they can get help, right? So there's people across the nation. So that's in California, but I'd like to mention too that Carrie Kasem has created a visitation laws in several states across the nation. And we're just trying to get the judges to actually follow these laws.
In your extensive experience in this area, have you come across an honest probate judge?
No. And that's saying a lot, because years ago, I'm in my 50s now, but years ago in my 20s, I worked 8 years with law enforcement. I was an investigator and undercover, right? So, but I worked for a department store. That's what I did when I was young. That was my thing. I didn't party. I just liked to do what I did, and that's what I did. And I worked for 8 years with law enforcement, and every criminal criminal judge I met actually seemed pretty ethical. They They listen to the evidence. If it was a jury trial, there's a jury. There's one really important thing for people to realize. In probate court, there is no jury. So if the judge is making a decision by themselves, they can be swayed in any which way. And we all know, as we've seen in media, that everything doesn't go right in court, does it? You know, especially if there's no jury. And even if there's a jury, sometimes it's crazy. But I have not come in contact or even heard of a probate judge that is actually assisting people in a proper manner now.
So what is the national solution? How do we fix this?
Okay, so there's a couple of solutions that we're all trying to work on. The first thing is that we would love to abolish conservatorships and guardianships and enter something, if we must, that's less restrictive of the elderly. You know, people need to stop thinking that, you know, oh, the elderly don't matter because they're old and, you know, they're done for anyway. They have dementia. They have Alzheimer's. They're sick. That's not true. You're human. We're all human beings, right? Are we not? We are, right? So it would be wonderful to abolish. The second is we would like to implement a federal judicial oversight committee, which means that this would be a group of people in each state, but it would be a federal entity that had people who knew the law and could implement judicial accountability upon the judges who are following the law or not following the law. But it would have to be with people who are not from the judicial system, no judges, no attorneys, people who truly represent the people. Because what happens is that there's citizens across the nation. All of us get calls all of the time, and there's no one for them to go to. We need a judicial oversight committee. And if the judges aren't doing what they need to do, then they need to be terminated or their pensions to be taken. That's how we feel. There's billions of dollars taken from the elderly every day. They're supposed to follow the law. There should be no judicial immunity. Supported decision-making laws should be implemented into ADA laws. ADA laws are the Americans with Disabilities Act. Many people may not know, but dementia and Alzheimer's falls under ADA. So if you fill out, you handle your will or your trust before, say, you get dementia or Alzheimer's, you know, God forbid, then your rights for what you said you want should be followed. The ADA laws will protect you. And then also the racketeer RICO laws should be implemented for what they're doing to not only the elderly, but what they do to the activists as well as the elderly's children for standing up for their rights. They use groups of people to bring one or two people down who are standing up. And I think lastly, it's really notable to understand that people in prison actually have more rights than the elderly do, and they haven't even committed a crime. All
right, I'm afraid we're out of time. I want to thank our guest, Angelique Fawcett, and urge folks to go to the website elderlylivesmatterusa.org because, folks, this is a fight you need to get in. Angelique, thank you so much for joining us today on The Roger Stone Show.
Thank you.